Are we working? Hi. Are we working, guys? Welcome. I'm sorry I made you wait. Can you hear me okay? I love the Christmas decorations make the room glow blue. So how are we going, guys? Can you hear me okay? Obviously, I'm hoping the kids will leave us alone. Yeah, you can hear me. Good. So defending Elvis Presley fans want the truth. We've started with 30 people. Of course, I had to be good. My wife said I'm not allowed to do a live unless the room is tidy how she wants. So thanks everyone for joining us. Now I've got an old vintage documentary and there's a lot of people in it. Now I just want to say that I haven't watched this documentary. I haven't watched it. So what we're going to do, morning Emily, I did try and message everyone. Hi Lynette. There's 29 people watching now. Please join in with the conversation. So I just want you to know, guys, that I have not watched this upcoming documentary. I haven't watched it ever. We are going to watch it together. Yeah. So the idea is, oh, Linda, you're right. Yeah, but Linda, I knew you were on. Linda, I saw you come on about 3 minutes ago. So I've had enough teas and coffee, so I'm just drinking water. So I don't have to run to the toilet every 5 minutes. I've just had my steak, my meat. As you know, I mainly eat meat. I did have apple crumble. Guys, I had apple crumble because it's Christmas. Am I allowed apple crumble? Probably not. With cream. Hi, Tony, Stacy, Debbie, and let's have a look. We've got Joanne, Ayisa, Songbird, Helen, Larry, Larry is 89 years old. Larry, what is your secret to living into your 90s? What is your secret? What do you eat? We want to know what you eat. Larry, what do you eat? Hi, Karen, Helen, and have I missed any names? Probably I've missed some names. Lorna. So I noticed Ayisa was talking about, hi Lynette, hi Emily, obviously Linda, of course. So Ayisa was talking about this thing when we hit 100 members. Don't worry, guys, because I'm only going to do one live extra for members. That's all. It won't affect the subscribers or the people that watch us. Yeah, it will just be that one extra live once a week that will just be for the 100 members. Yeah, so please don't worry. I will always, the subscribers come first. Yeah. Of course, yeah, you guys have been very loyal, so please don't worry. It's only $1 a month if you want to join. We're on 86 at the moment, and I've set it at the lowest amount on purpose. Ayisa, please don't worry. 15 of the members, it was Tony did that for us. So let's see if this is going to work. Right, guys, so this is, I've never watched this. I don't know what's in it. I know there's a lot of different interviews in it. We may hear some shocking details. Now, remember, we are here to defend. So some of the things in this may make Elvis look bad. Oh, well, there we are. Tony's just gifted us 5 members. Tony, you're too kind. Tony's just gifted us 5 members. Thank you, Tony. Very kind. Tony, you know we love you. Who is she gifted? Wonder Woman, Jennifer Salas, because it says the names. Oh yeah, Susan. Let's talk with Susan. And who shown the others? Anyway, you're very kind, Tony. You're too kind. Too kind. Right, are we ready? Let's give it a go. Yeah. I'm a little, guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit worried about it because I don't know what it's going to say.
I remember the exact second. It's like Kennedy getting shot. You know, I remember exactly where I was.
August 16th, 1977, the day the music died.
I think Elvis was never meant to live very long.
People all say, did you expect him to pass away? You knew he was not doing well. I said, yeah, but we always were thinking that one day he would wake up and say, what am I doing to myself?
Right, let's all comment together, guys.
It was once ever when I said, what do you think your worst flaw is as a human being? And he said, well, I'll probably only admit this once, but I'm self-destructive.
He was young, he was strong, and he knew how to stay healthy.
We didn't have alcohol in the house in the early 60s. He didn't care for any.
Thanks, Tony.
He wasn't into, you know, like recreational drugs for any reason.
In those early Hollywood days, when Elvis Presley said no booze and no drugs, he meant just that.
Too
But
right.
somewhere along the line, he started drawing an important distinction.
Elvis just had in his mind that it was prescription medicine. He got it from a doctor, so it's okay to take it.
And he said, well, the prescription drugs.
So hang on, guys. Obviously, I do have to comment as we go. Otherwise, it's pretty pointless. Now, obviously, we are going to comment together. Now, the one thing I have learned through all the different research that we've done together is Elvis honestly believed that the prescribed medication was going to help him, was going to ease his pain, give him energy, soothe his discomfort, wake him up, get him to sleep, because he has very, very bad insomnia. So Elvis thought turning to your doctor or your nurses or your pharmacist was the right thing to do. He didn't see that there was any problem with taking pills, even way back. Some say that when he would go to gigs in the 50s, he would take uppers to keep him up through the night because they would drive all night to different gigs. Even in the army years, he was up doing his maneuvers through the night. So the army prescribed them uppers to keep them awake through the night, doing these maneuvers. So Elvis always thought, well, the doctor's given them me, so that it's not going to do any harm. Didn't even think about the long-term effects or side effects. So we have to understand the mentality in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, that the doctor giving you a pill was okay, and there was a pill for everything.
I would like to share with other people is that Elvis had this innocent country boy kind of attitude. A doctor was someone he looked up to. If a doctor prescribed some sort of sedative, to him that was okay. Originally, when he'd come out to do a movie, he would take diet pills because he was worried about his weight and wanted to be thin for the movies because he'd eat a lot of hamburgers and stuff when he was back in Memphis.
Did he have a drug problem? Yes, but it was necessary. Elvis had a twisted colon, which I understand is very, very painful. And he had to take a heavy narcotic for that. He had glaucoma, which they had under control, but he had to take narcotics for that. I mean, he had to take it or he'd gone blind, but they had it under control.
If you walked a mile in his shoes, you would understand what he was going through. Traveling, doing shows, one-nighters, couldn't get to sleep. You're all wired up coming off stage, so you got to take sleeping pills. Then you got to get up the next day to travel 1,000 miles, and so you take some uppers.
In public, questions about Elvis's energy level were easily deflected.
I take vitamin E.
He looks great, doesn't he, guys?
I was only kidding. I
I've got Elvis here and Elvis here. Two Elvises.
I don't know, dear. I enjoy the business. I like what I'm doing.
But I don't think that Elvis ever was involved in anything that was against the law. Any drugs such as heroin or crack or any
He never took street drugs.
Maybe he was, but I would have difficulty
Right, Deborah.
Believing that. I do know that he had trouble with his weight. I do know
Don't we all?
that he had trouble sometimes sleeping. And I think that he did get hooked on amphetamines and then sleeping pills. So it would be like one diet pill and one sleeping
So
pill.
true,
and
Joanne.
then his immunity built up to that. And so then it would be 2 diet pills and 2 sleeping pills. And it was just like a vicious cycle.
Hi, Elizabeth.
And at one point, I flushed all those things down the toilet, and he laughed. Because
Lucy, you going already? Where you going, Lucy?
The MGM years had an impact on Elvis Presley. I mean, this is the studio that was famous for shoving diet pills at a teenage Judy Garland. You know, there's no question about it. The studio at the time had a legacy for sending stars to Dr. Feelgoods.
No one can say for sure when Elvis started abusing the drugs that would eventually lead to his death, but most friends and associates point to March 1972, when Priscilla announced to Elvis that she was leaving him. Whatever pills he may have taken before, he started taking more of them, and they, in turn, took more of a toll on him.
Elvis' personality change.
Now, guys, don't forget, remember, we are reviewing this documentary, yeah? We're not here to make Elvis look bad. We're going to break it down. We're going to try and understand, obviously, the point of view of the documentary. We're going to try and pick out the lies. We're going to try and pick out where things have been exaggerated and twisted. In this particular section, we're going to try and see why they give the impression that he was addict. So we're here to try and understand. So this is going to upset some people, guys. This is quite a difficult documentary, but we're going to do our best within all of it. We're going to do our best to defend Elvis, because I feel many things are being exaggerated and twisted. The first thing I'm trying to say at the moment, where they're discussing the medication, the first thing I'm trying to say is, are they exaggerating? I'm trying to say it was completely normal, especially in the 70s, to take a pill for something, for pain, to soothe you, to help you sleep, to help you wake up, to give you energy, for discomfort, to fix your medical problems. Elvis had a twisted colon. Elvis had a megacolon. So he would take medication, steroids, for his colon. He had the equivalent of IBS, IBD, or Crohn's. They even say he may have had arthritis. We know about the glaucoma. So, and high blood pressure, high blood sugar. So there was many things happening here. So Elvis was taking many different pills for different reasons. Now remember, Elvis was a very proud man. He kept many of his problems to himself. He didn't want his work colleagues, the Memphis Mafia, his family, to know how unwell he was. Now remember, Elvis was a leader. He was in charge. He provided for hundreds of people. So he was so proud that he kept his illnesses quiet. Only a few people that Elvis confided in knew how unwell Elvis was. So remember, when we play this isn't all truth. We're playing it. This is a documentary from the late 80s. And we don't know how much of it is correct or incorrect. We're just going to discuss it. Okay, guys?
You know, he was not the happy-go-lucky, nice individual. Sometimes his moods would swing. He could be crabby at 1 minute and then fine the next. When Elvis would get angry, there's no one in the world I've ever seen that could get so angry that could just put a dark cloud over the whole situation.
That's right,
it's
Carolyn.
Smothering you. And he's not even saying anything. He's just in a bad mood and he's upset. And he could dampen the whole thing. And by the same token, when he comes out and that's not there, and hey guys, bang, the light, everything just pops wide open and everything's just great. The amazing thing about Elvis was that, then he would just clean his act up. He would just stop taking anything for long periods of time. And he was great, good mood, had a great time. And then maybe something bothered his mind, and instead of drinking, he'd take a pill.
Sometimes even Elvis's fans were witness to his anger at concerts when talking to them between songs.
I don't pay attention to rumors. I don't pay attention to movie magazines. I don't read them because they're all junk. When I got sick here in the hotel, I got sick here that one night. I had 102 temperature. They wouldn't let me perform. From 3 different sources I heard I was strung out on heroin. Well, by God, I'll tell you something, friend. I have never been strung out in my life, except on music. All goes down, strung out. So I told him earlier, and don't you get offended, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to somebody else. If I find or hear the individual that has said that about me, I'm going to break your goddamn neck, you son of a bitch.
Quite upsetting, isn't it, guys? Quite upsetting, isn't it?
That is dangerous. That is damaging to myself, to my little daughter, to my father, to my friends, my doctor, to everybody in my relationship with you, my relationship with you on the stage. It is dangerous. I will pull your goddamn tongue out with the roots.
Very sad, guys. He got it off his chest.
When we left and said goodbye, we walked out of the dressing room, closed the door behind us, and I looked at Sandy and she looked at me and I said, you know what? That'll be the last time we're going to see Elvis alive. And she said, what do you mean? And I didn't say anything else. We walked back to our hotel. We got a cab. We went back to our hotel. And we had no sooner gotten into our dressing room than both of us just broke down and cried because we felt it was so sad what we had just witnessed.
Very sad.
6 months later, he was dead.
Oh.
I remember when I was 18 or 19, my mother and I were in West LA, and my mother said, I had a terrible dream. I dreamt that Elvis's mother came to me and said, save my son, save my son. And I think Elvis is in major trouble. And we flew to Vegas, and we tried to get in, and it's the first time ever that Elvis didn't have us backstage. And they said, he's really sick. He can't see anybody right now. And I know that that's when things were getting really bad, and I only wish that my mom could have been around him more. I wish that he could have had more loving female influences. A lot of people cared about him, but a lot of people were afraid to help him.
Drug use is insidious. You start out with a little bit works, so why not more works better? And so by the time I met him, he was already at the more works better stage. And so that's what I had to deal with, just him taking a lot of medications. And I, would have to sometimes give him the medications or injections or whatever. He told me it was vitamin B12, and I don't think it was. Just between you and I. Don't tell anybody.
The people closest to Elvis were fiercely protective of his reputation. Initially, Joe Esposito denied Elvis's drug use.
I was just protecting my friend. I know there was a problem there. You can't take all that kind of medication. It's not going to make you feel healthy.
So, obviously we always question the Memphis Mafia. We feel that they were very close to him. They should have done something. But sometimes I wonder, were they too scared to say anything to Elvis? Yeah. Were they scared to lose their jobs? Did they just want to try and keep him happy? Were they yes men? Yeah. And then from the point of view of Elvis, it was like, what else could he do? Elvis knew that his health was falling apart, deteriorating fast. From around 1974 onwards, there was a decline. And what else could Elvis do? He either was he was very unwell, he was in pain, he couldn't sleep, his stomach had serious problems, high blood pressure. He felt very unwell. So what else is he going to do? It's either go to the doctor and ask for medication, or the pharmacist, or his nurse. Obviously, he was being looked after. There's different well-known nurses that looked after Elvis. But my point is, if you were him, if any one of you here was Elvis in 1977, and you were very unwell and in pain and couldn't sleep and you couldn't go to the toilet properly, and you had your whole body was aching, yeah, your glaucoma, your stomach, and you couldn't rest. What are you going to do? You go to the doctor. Please help me sleep. Please give me energy. Elvis was doing 2 or 3 shows a day in Vegas. Yeah. Please give me energy. I have to perform. Don't forget, Elvis would get very nervous before his performances. People don't realize just how nervous Elvis would get. So I just see a very desperate man, that his body had really taken over. His body was in control. And Elvis felt that he had lost control of his body, and everything felt like it was going wrong. So a desperate man in need of help, in so much pain and discomfort, that hasn't slept properly. So he always had to turn to his doctors. He had no other choice. What were his other choices? I don't see the other choices.
And Linda Thompson, Elvis's girlfriend from 1972 to 1976, never mentioned drugs to her brother Sam, even when he went to work for Elvis as a bodyguard.
Sam, my brother Sam, he came to me after a few months of having been on the road with Elvis. And I'd been with Elvis about 2 years at the time, I think, 2.5 years. And he said, "Baby sister." I said, "Yeah." He said, "How come you never mentioned any of this? We're close, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "But you've never shared this with anybody. You've never told me anything about what's going on here, and that, Elvis is doing these prescription drugs, and this is a real distorted way of life." And I was so protective of Elvis that I didn't even share that with my only sibling, whom I was really, really close to, and I'm still very close to. And he was really taken aback by that I had never even shared with him the kind of drug abuse that Elvis had succumbed to.
I would be in charge of the medicine box, and it had all of this medicine in it. And sometimes we would try to fill some of the capsules with sugar and make him think he was getting a sleeping med, when in fact it was a placebo. And so it was all a game. Let's pretend Elvis isn't dying. We didn't really talk about how serious it was, but it was.
As rumors of his drug use became more widespread, Elvis didn't help his own cause with rambling interviews like this one from 1973.
How do you pace yourself? How do you pace yourself? I'm physically and vocally aware. So you are up when you need to be up. I just I exercise every day. I vocalize every day. I practice if I'm working or not. So I just try to stay in shape all the time, vocally and mentally.
Very sad, guys. He doesn't look well there, does he?
No one ever says no to them. Say no to me, we'll say no to you. Everybody gets said no to. No.
No one said no to him.
Jim Morrison, you can say no to Jim Morrison. He's the lead singer. He's the star. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. You kind of go along with him. He wants to drink. How do you stop him from drinking? I think the same thing happened to Elvis. No one said,
you're right, Karen.
Bottle out of your hand. Knocked it right out of his hand. No pills. Bam. As a matter of fact, boom. Now go to sleep and sit down there. You couldn't do that to Elvis Presley. You'd do that to anybody else. You do that to the drummer in the band or the guitar player, but you don't do that to the lead singer. Elvis was the lead singer and the biggest thing until the Beatles. So how do you stop it?
Yeah, but he doesn't look well, does he, Elizabeth?
His dad, Priscilla, the guys, all the guys around, and we sat around and talked, so we got to do something about this. And there was times in there, Red and Sonny would be in the bedroom talking to Elvis, and they would talk to him about, Red would say something about, Elvis, you got to start cleaning up your act. He's, no, it's that same old thing. Yeah, I'll do it. When I'm ready to do it, I'll do it. No, he'd get mad at you. Just tell you, get out of the room. He was very hard-headed.
In 1977, bodyguards Red West, Sonny West, and Dave Hebler made what they maintain was a final attempt to help Elvis see what drugs were doing to him. They wrote the tell-all book, Elvis, What Happened.
My cousin Red charged in to stop it one time. I think he broke the guy's toe or something going through the door and told him that he was going to break him up if he didn't quit getting the stuff to him. And Elvis heard about it, and he called Red and Joe in. They discussed it for a while, and then finally he looked at Red and said, I'll never forget it. He said, I need him, man. I need it.
And how do you protect a man from himself?
When word of the book in progress...
So they're going to start talking about the book, Elvis, What Happened, which I've got here somewhere. I'm not sure where I've put it. I know that the Red West, Sonny West, Dave Hebler try and give the impression that they were trying to help. Yeah, obviously, we've all heard the story that they were sacked at short notice by Vernon. But I still say they should never have written the book. In fact, many of the things that we found out from the book, we shouldn't have found out about, because good friends don't tell the world, the public, about their best friend's secret problems. So no matter what people say to me, I will always say the book was a betrayal. I would always say that. I personally think all three of them regretted writing the book. I know that Dave is still alive, and Dave doesn't show regret. He makes excuses, but I think deep down he regrets it. Honestly, I do. Red West and Sonny, I think, were affected by what they put in the book, Elvis, What Happened, for the whole of their lives. I think it really, really plagued their lives. We know they had a lot of hate. We know, and Dave Hebler still gets hate to this day, and he's in his 80s. So that just shows the love for Elvis. So let's hear what they start saying about. We know that Elvis knew the book was coming out. We know about the phone call with Red West. It's all on YouTube if you want to hear it, guys. Let's hear what they have to say about the book, Elvis, What Happened.
Was devastated.
That pretty well haunted him the last year of his life. He got obsessed with it. Every night we'd sit and talk about it after the shows. You know, he was so concerned about what they're saying about me, what they're going to write about me, what are people going to think about me, what are my fans going to say about Lisa Marie when she reads this, when she gets older. It bugged him. It bugged him, but instead of doing something about it, he just got worse.
The book was published on August 1st, 1977. 2 weeks later, Elvis had flowers delivered to his mother's grave, as he did every August 14th, the anniversary of her death. On the 15th, Elvis was getting ready to go on tour.
I came in that evening, and Larry Geller came in town too from L.A. I was staying at the Howard Johnson's hotel down the street. And I came to the house that evening and hung around, visited some of the people. Sam Thompson was there, and the other guys just talking and getting ready for tomorrow. And Elvis went to the dentist.
It was just a routine visit to check him over. He was preparing the tour, and he had Ginger Alden with him. And his comments to me were, Dr. Hoffman, after you check me over, if you can, please check Ginger over, because would like to get her teeth fixed and straightened. And it was just a very, very enjoyable visit.
Elvis came.
I've never heard the doctor speak about it, the dentist.
And he walked through the front door, and when I heard him come up, I ran out to see him. He walked in, a pair of sunglasses on. And he looked at me, and he took his sunglasses off, and he went, shook his head, communicating that he didn't feel too good. He put his sunglasses on, walked upstairs. I went to the kitchen, and I just thought to myself, we're leaving tomorrow. This man is ill. He doesn't feel good. We're going to just start a tour.
And I was there when he got back, and just before he went down to play racquetball, he called me upstairs, and we were just talking about some of the songs and the upcoming tour. And I had actually been supposed to take Lisa Marie back for several days to Priscilla. And as always happened when Lisa came to visit, Elvis would just want to add a few more days, because he really loved his daughter and was looking for an opportunity to stay with her. So my role the next day was to come back over, pick Lisa up, and fly commercially back to Los Angeles.
And all of a sudden I heard someone say, Larry, it's the phone. It's Elvis. He wants you right now. I picked the phone up. Elvis was upstairs on his phone. He said, Larry, how you doing? I said, fine. He said, did you bring me those books from Los Angeles? I said, yeah, I've got them here. He said, well, maybe you should come upstairs. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot I want to talk to you about. I said, yeah, but Elvis, we're going to go on tour tomorrow. We'll have every night to talk. Why don't you get some rest?
I said goodnight to him and left in the wee hours of the morning. And I went home and went to bed. And as I recall, we embraced, which we often would shake hands and then we'd give each other a little hug, and I told him to get some rest or something like that. And then I went home and went to sleep.
I called upstairs and I said, Elvis, I'm here. Is there anything you need? Anything we should be ready for tomorrow? He said, no, everything's fine.
Sorry, the kids are being
wake up tomorrow afternoon,
screaming in the background.
If I need anything, I'll let you know. Basically, that was it. So I hung around a little bit, went back to the hotel, went to sleep.
Early in the afternoon of August 16th, 1977, Ginger Alden awoke to find that 3 hours after Elvis went into the bathroom to read, he still hadn't returned. She went back to sleep.
About 12 o'clock, came back to Graceland on the 16th, and Al Strada was there packing the wardrobe cases.
Very sad, this part, guys.
And that's when about 2 o'clock, 2:10, phone rang, the intercom. It was Ginger calling down. One of the maids answered, and she asked if one of the boys was there, and she said, Al's here. So she gave the phone to Al. She asked Al to come upstairs. Al went upstairs, went into the bedroom, and Ginger apparently thought Elvis fainted. And as soon as Al got...
Let me just pause it a minute. Let's just pause it. Obviously, Stop. Okay, there we go. Obviously, the kids are screaming in the background, so there's a chance they're going to come in and attack me, but I hope not. So these details are quite important, I think. He's describing it step by step. But one of you commented, I think, I'm trying to see who it was, why didn't Vernon help? And I've always wondered this. I've always wondered, was Vernon too scared to stand up to Elvis and tell him straight about the fact that he has got, was overprescribed, taking too many medications? Was Vernon trying to keep Elvis happy all the time? Because it's his father. If anyone that's there truly cared, it would have been Vernon, So I always wonder, why didn't Vernon get in the middle of it? The other one, obviously, Jerry Schilling is another one, but I think, didn't Jerry go off a few times and come back? There's just certain people I wonder why they didn't step in. Obviously, the Colonel is one, Colonel Tom Parker. I know Larry Geller would come and go, wouldn't he? He would come and go. So we just wish certain people just intervened. Like some people say that Elvis got much worse after Linda left. Went off. I know Elvis had moved on, but some people blame Linda, saying that there was a downward spiral after Linda. I definitely think that it was too much for Ginger. I don't think a 20-year-old woman, she was just a child, really. She could never have understood Elvis's serious medical problems and the life that Elvis had led, all of it is just so sad. We all wish someone stepped in, don't we, guys? Anyway, let's keep going with it. I mean, I know this is quite upsetting, guys, but at the moment, we're going through a phase of reviewing vintage documentaries. So some of them are going to be pretty bad. Some of them are going to be uplifting and positive. We're just going to find the very old vintage documentaries. We're going to just go through them, and Team Elvis are going to sort of scrutinize them together. We're watching these together. We're watching this together for the first time,
So I ran upstairs. I went into the bedroom, into the bathroom, and Elvis had fallen off the toilet. He was reading a book, apparently, and he fell onto the carpeting. And I immediately turned him over. And the minute I touched him, I knew that he had been dead for a while.
His body was found on the floor in a fetal position.
So I turned him over and I pulled up his pajamas. And I could not, there's always people say I try to give him mouth to mouth. I did not try to give him mouth. I could not give him mouth to mouth because his mouth was shut, closed. There was no way I could open it. And I tried to do the heart thing, which I saw in movies. I'm not a CPR expert. I tried that for a long time. I picked the phone up first of all and called the operator. Said I need an ambulance here at 3764 Elvis Presley Boulevard. Somebody has collapsed. We need somebody here quick.
My dad came over and took me to Graceland. He was going to drop me off because we were going to have a car take us to the airport. And as I was going into Graceland, a car came speeding down. It turned out it was David Stanley.
Right, mate? Right.
And I was just saying hi to David or something. And he said something like, have you heard the news?
Come on, then,
Elvis just died, or Elvis is dead, or something like that. And I mean, my dad and I were just startled. I thought, well, yeah, I must have heard that wrong.
I think Al or somebody called Vernon. He was down in the office. Elvis's father. He came upstairs and a little concerned about Vernon because Vernon had a bad heart. He had some heart problems the last couple of years. He came in and he got on his knees, just saying, "Elvis, please don't leave us, Elvis, my boy." And it was a tough scene. All kinds of things were happening. We were trying. Ginger was by the doorway. Then Lisa Marie was in town. She was getting ready to go back to LA that day. She came by the door and looked in the bathroom. Mom laid there. That was tough. Sort of get her out of here. And it seemed forever before the ambulance got there. And I come to find out later it was about 20 minutes it took them to get there. We have no idea why.
You go upstairs, I'll bring it back, yeah?
I come in and I was
I'll bring it up.
standing in the kitchen with my back to, where there's a little part of the flat there where the cabinets are. And I'm standing there looking through the paper. And Patsy Gamble and Vernon came behind me. I thought they were laughing. Because laughter and sorrow is a lot alike sometimes. And I turned around to see what's so funny, and I saw that they were both crying. And I went straight upstairs, and Joe was already up there. And I began to do what I could.
He was supposed to start a tour for me the next day in Maine. And my telephone rang, and it was Joe Esposito on one line. I don't even know if he remembers this, but it was Joe. And he said, "Jerry, I got to talk to you." And my other line, I said, "Hold on one second, Joe." And I hit the other line. And it was Ruin Aldridge from ABC News. And he said to me, "Jerry, Elvis is dead." I said, "What? What?" He said, "He just died." I said, "Hold on." And I kept back on with Joe. I said, "Joe, what's the matter?" Joe said, "I'm in the bathroom with Elvis. He just died." He hadn't taken him away yet. He said, "I just want you to know because your phone's going to start ringing." And I said, "It's already rung." Ruin Aldridge on the phone. He was Joe was a disaster. He was a complete wreck. He lost his best friend and he couldn't believe it. I mean, he was totally bummed out.
And we all went downstairs. Charlie Hodge was with me. We took him downstairs to the ambulance, got him back in the ambulance. I jumped in the back of the ambulance. Charlie Hodge jumped in the back with me. And just as we were getting ready to pull out, Dr. Nick pulled up in front of the house, jumped out of his car, and jumped in the back of the ambulance with us. And we took off.
I was trying to breathe for us, because Elvis used to say that the last thing to go was your hearing. So with that in mind, but in reality, rigor mortis had already set in. He'd been dead for some time, but you don't want to give up. And like I said, with the last thing, him saying that the last thing to go is your hearing, I was saying, breathe, help us breathe. and everything. And then the medics said later that they believed at the time Elvis fell, if they'd been there with the right equipment, it was too late. He was gone.
And so I got up to the top of the hill there, and I could see a fire department ambulance sitting at the front door. Well, my first thought it was Vernon, because Vernon had a bad heart and he'd had some problems. So I really thought at that moment that it was Vernon that David was talking about. And I went in, and Vernon was sitting in a big high-back chair in the jungle room, crying. And I just stood in the dark for a moment and stepped out. And then he saw me and he said something like, "Is that you, Sam? You know, well, you're here to get Lisa. Well, there's no need to go. My boy's dead," or something. And he just burst out and started crying. And Nicopolis was there, and it was quite a scene. It was pandemonium. And they had already taken Elvis's body by that time.
We went to the hospital, got into the emergency room. They ushered Charlie and I off into another room, and they took him into the emergency room. And Billy Smith showed up at the emergency room, and I forgot who else. I don't remember. It was starting to get very hectic.
So I went to the emergency room, and they were working on him. And when I went in, it was very evident that Elvis had been gone a long time. And I just asked them to stop. I said, "Please do not do this to him." And Dr. Nick, I said, "Dr. Nick, please don't do anything else." And so they worked for a few more minutes. And I said, "Dr. Nick, please don't do anything else." And so they stopped.
I think probably the most amazing part of that was that there were a few moments during this time period that we're trying to resuscitate him. There were a few moments where we got some heartbeat back, which, when you put things in perspective, how long he'd been dead and how you got heartbeat back, I mean, when you look back on it, it was just an amazing feat. You know, even though it wasn't sustained, there was still some EKG evidence of a heartbeat.
Elvis would not have wanted to be anything other than vibrant and able to sing and to live a normal life. And had they been able to resuscitate him as long as he had been gone, it would have been bad. And God works for God. And so I was glad he had the upper hand.
Dr. Nick came in there and told us that he was gone.
We felt like that Elvis died of some cardiac arrhythmia problem where his heart just starts beating erratically and real fast.
That's when I called Colonel Parker in Portland, Maine, and told him what happened. And there was a lot of silence on the other side of the phone. And he just says, "We'll be there tonight." And then I called Priscilla and told her. And naturally, she was in shock. I mean, she didn't know what to do. And she asked, "Naturally, how's Lisa?" I said, "Lisa's fine. Don't worry about her."
I was living in Los Angeles, and I think it was about 12 or 1 o'clock. The phone rang, and it was Lisa Marie. I know, and my dad's dad. My dad's
so let's so this little section is quite controversial. She's about to tell us that Lisa Marie phoned her from Graceland to say that her father was found dead. Now, many of you have told me that it was Linda's brother, Sam Thompson, that was working for Elvis, that phoned Linda and passed the phone to poor little Lisa Marie. So I don't know what the truth is. You guys tell me. Was it Sam that phoned Linda? Was it Lisa Marie that phoned Linda? Obviously, we can't even imagine the hell that poor little Lisa was going through. Now, some people think Linda is trying to make it all about her, that Lisa preferred Linda over Ginger. So what do you think, guys? Leave it in the comments. What do you think? Did Lisa phone Linda? Did Sam pass the phone to Lisa? What do you think, guys? Very controversial, this bit. Let's go back a little bit.
It was about 12 or 1 o'clock. The phone rang, and it was Lisa Marie. I know, my dad's dad. My daddy died. My daddy died. He's dead. I said, what? He's dead. He's dead. And I threw the phone in the air. It was like such a nightmarish quality. I just couldn't even accept it. So I threw the phone. And I'm standing there saying, oh, my God, oh, my God. And I hear this little voice across the room on the receiver. And you know, I collected myself enough to realize this little 9-year-old child has had the presence of mind to pick up the phone, dial my number long distance to let me know that the person that she knew I loved has passed on. So I somehow reached for the phone again and I said, Lisa, honey, are you sure? And she said, I'm sure. And she was hysterical. You know, she was crying. And then I just started trying to say things like, you know how much your daddy loves you and how much your daddy's always loved you and you're his little girl. And I was trying to say things to her to comfort her on some level while I was so distraught myself, and I was by myself in my apartment. And my brother took the phone from Lisa and he said, Linda? I said, Sam, is it true? Is it just, she's wrong, isn't she? He's just sick. He had a problem. They took him to the hospital. He said, no, you better come home. And I said, well, give me to Lisa again. So he put Lisa back on. And I said, honey, I'm going to come in and just feel your daddy's love because that's always with you. And then we hung up, and then I caught a flight late in the evening and flew to Memphis right away.
Sad, very sad, guys.
I got a call from Memphis in the morning of the day he passed away, and to let me know before it was on television, just so it wouldn't be shocked. I freaked out. When I went over to Linda Thompson's house, and she was getting ready to fly back to Memphis.
Phone's ringing. And I can't talk to you about it. Judy had to take the call. I couldn't talk to my brother, my sisters, my mom and dad, my friends. I couldn't talk to anybody. I was crying. I was walking around my room bawling like a 10-year-old baby. Could not control my feelings.
I get this phone call from Joe, and he said, Shirley, Elvis is dead. And I said, what? He said, I'm telling you, Elvis is dead. And I said, Joe, don't joke around. And he started to cry. And I got a phone call. And I think it was from Shirley, who at the time was Joe Esposito's girlfriend. I was shocked, but I wasn't shocked. And I don't know how that can be, but, you know, sometimes you have premonitions about things. And I hadn't seen him or spoken to him for about 6 months. But I had kept tabs on how he was and where he was, because Shirley had become a very good girlfriend of mine, and she was going with Joe at the time. I can remember running my nails across the wall. And the last I remember, I was behind our apartment in the alley just crying. And then after that, it was just getting everything together. And then Joe remained pretty calm and just kind of handled everything the best he could.
And I was getting calls from friends, Nancy Sinatra and Margaret, different friends, different celebrity friends who wanted to come. And, you know, I said, you know, it was tough, you know, just I couldn't help them. It was a madhouse there. And I suggested, Nancy, you know, just don't come. It's going to be crazy here. And Aunt Margaret said the same thing to her. And she says, no, I'm coming.
Another celebrity who'd been trying to call was singer Tony Orlando, who, like Elvis and like Tony's good friend, the late Freddie Prinze, also had a drug problem. Oddly, though, Tony started calling the house several hours before Elvis died.
After what happened with Freddie, after what was going on with me, I became very frightened about Elvis. And the night before he died, I started to call the house. And I started calling about 10:30, I was very concerned, and I kept calling well after midnight, and I got no answer. On the morning of the 16th, I decided to walk down the street to St. Patrick's Cathedral. Now I know Priscilla, I knew Lisa as a child, and they used to come see me at the hotel, the shows, in the front row. They'd sit in the front row, you know. And I decided to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral and light a candle for Elvis and Lisa and Priscilla. I kneeled down, I lit 3 candles, I said my prayers, I hoped them for the best. I walked back, I get to the hotel room, Elaine opens the door. She says, you better sit down. They found Elvis today, and he died today. And I don't know quite what it was that was making him pursue this feeling or this sense that he was in danger. But I never forget that. I never forget that I was trying to call him the night before, didn't get through, went to church, prayed for him, and that very morning, he was no longer.
Well, I lost it, and they had to sedate me. But I had enough sense as soon as the plane landed back in Burbank, and I got home, I immediately got on the phone and made a plane reservation. And it's lucky that I did, because an hour later, I couldn't have gotten one.
I was in Dallas, Texas, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, it reminds me so much of the John F. Kennedy thing. I mean, when I heard about John F. Kennedy, for some reason, it touched me in a place I haven't been touched before, except for those 2 deaths, and I don't know why.
I was in Las Vegas. I was on my way to a television station, walking in the door to do an interview to promote a show I was doing. And they said, well, what do you think about Elvis? I said, well, what do you mean? I think he's the great. Went on and on. Went, no, he just died. They said, what? Moments later, I was on television. That was tough.
When I heard the news that Elvis passed away, I believe that I was here. I was in California, in Los Angeles. And I just remember, breaking into tears and feeling so empty.
I was appearing in Wildwood, New Jersey in the summertime in August. I had my 2 children there with me, and we were, I think, just coming in from taking them out like to the beach or something, and we were coming inside to the hotel, and I was to start getting ready for the show, and they had to get their dinner and so forth. And that's when I heard the news. And naturally, they were young. They didn't know really what had happened. But it was quite a thing.
It really didn't sink in to me personally, because I didn't even cry that much that whole time.
Joe Esposito was still shell-shocked when the ever-intrusive press peppered him with questions, even as Elvis's body lay in state inside Graceland.
I did a couple of interviews. I don't even remember, to tell the truth. I know I was in front of a camera answering questions from a few reporters, and a lot of it's a big blur.
Mr. Esposito, can you tell us anything about the family, how they're bearing up in this time?
Right now, they're all in a state of shock. I don't think nobody really.
Thanks, Donna.
I don't even realize.
What about Mr. Presley's former wife? How is she?
She's pretty upset.
What's going to be the procedure for the funeral tomorrow?
I couldn't tell you till I sit down. We're going to go over that in a little while.
But Joe couldn't afford the luxury of sitting down. He had a funeral to arrange.
It's just like putting on a show. We had to do the right job. Like I say, Sam and Dick Grove, Sam Towns, Dick Grove, they handled all the security situation. They had all the meetings with the police department and the highway patrol, because they knew it was going to become pretty hectic.
Just pause that a minute. There's some very detailed interviews with Dick Grove, so you'll see in a second, but there are some, you go and find it on YouTube. I'll see if I can dig it out so we can go through it. But Dick Grove really breaks down how he went around, with help, of course, organizing the funeral, but not just the funeral. The day of the death was announced as well. He played an integral part in all of it. It was a very, very well thought out, complicated funeral service. And his interview that explains it all bit by bit, hour by hour, is very, very interesting. Let's listen to Dick Grob.
For about the next 4 days, I probably had 30 minutes worth of sleep because we had the whole funeral to put on and the security. And I stayed at the house and was in charge of guarding his body when they brought it back from the funeral home.
I didn't get to go to the funeral. I was married, and my husband didn't want me to go because of all the hoopla.
I wouldn't even go to his funeral. I don't think I could have been of any help to anybody there. Joe would have just felt pressure to put me up. I didn't want to deal with Priscilla and Linda and every other girl that thought she was the only one. I didn't want to be a part of the drama. I was just so stunned and so grief-stricken and so at loss that I really didn't know what to expect. My own reactions, the fans' reaction, how many people would be there, family reaction, would there be a celebrity contingent? Nothing occurred to me. I was just kind of catatonic getting back to Memphis. Tom Hewlett, I believe, said, "Colonel, I need to get a suit. I don't have a suit with me. We can't go to the funeral in the clothes we wore on tour." And Colonel said, "Tom, these clothes were good enough for us to work for Elvis. They're good enough for us to wear at his funeral. He would understand. And if he saw me in a suit, he wouldn't recognize me." So we went to the funeral in very basic work clothes, in our work clothes. I had slacks.
Those closest to Elvis worried about his appearance as well.
When Elvis passed away, his father asked me to go to the mortuary to prepare Elvis's hair for the funeral. And I went. And Elvis had a regrowth of white hair, about half an inch, all over. And I wasn't prepared for it. I had to bring my dyes. And there was a female mortician, and she had a mascara kit. Fortunately, it was black, a little brush, and I smeared it all over, faked it. No one ever knew.
Vernon told him what kind of casket he wanted for Elvis, and he wanted all limousines, white, all white. And there was not even that many limousines in Memphis, and they had to get limousines from Arkansas, Mississippi. They got them all to come in.
I still have this vision in my mind of all the big white limousines that we rode in, and it was so appropriate that they were white because he had such a purity of heart and celebrated life on such a level that it was so nice to not have just all black limousines and a black hearse. The white meant a lot to me.
George Hamilton, good friend of Colonel Parker's, a friend of Elvis's, he came. And it was heck trying to coordinate who's going to go in what limousine and all that. I know some people got their feelings hurt, some family members, because they weren't up in the front ones. But we did it. It all worked out, and I'm sure Elvis was very proud of everybody that put this together for him because it was hell.
They asked Colonel to ride in one of the limousines, in one of the front limousines with family, and Colonel said no. I have always been behind the scenes with Elvis. That's the way I want to maintain it. And he rode in the limousine, but not with the family group.
Every flower in the city was delivered to Graceland. They were come from all different parts of the state because all the florists ran out of flowers.
The body lay in state at the base of the stairs at Graceland, and the fans could come through and view his body for the last time, which I think was comforting to them, just to be able to have that kind of closure, as they say, just to be able to say one last goodbye, to see him. Maybe they'd never seen him while he lived, but they saw him in his death.
Unfortunately, those devoted fans had to make great sacrifices in order to say that one last goodbye to their hero.
The bad thing about August in Memphis is horrible. It's humid, hot. And then there was no wind blowing at all, and people were outside the gate shoving and pushing, wanted to get in. We opened the gates up for the people to come up around and come and sing, give their goodbyes to Elvis. People were collapsing, fainting from the heat exhaustion. Ambulance was there, the police department went there, and it was like a battle zone almost. It really was. It was really horrible. I felt bad for the people, but nothing we could do about it.
There's one lady that left her husband and 3 children and threw herself under a train on the day Elvis died. And they had a whole list of people who actually killed themselves on the day Elvis died. What an effect that man had.
But even under such tragic circumstances, there was still humor to be found.
I sat on the landing of the stairs and watched all these people come through and pay their last respects to Elvis. And we alternately laughed hysterically and cried hysterically. And each of us would look at each other and know what Elvis would have said as someone came through. A funny little remark he might have made about what they were wearing, or, some guy came in a neck brace, and we looked at each other and we said, he would have said the guy's in worse shape than he is. What's he doing here? He's in worse shape than I am.
It was pretty tough. It was pretty tough to see him laid out dead in the living room, and then when I got there, I had a meeting with his father and the colonel, and a whole bunch of people were there, and it was the day of the funeral. Anyway, I'm gonna cry because I miss him.
But not everyone who passed by Elvis's casket showed the same level of respect.
Picture of Elvis on the cover of the National Enquirer was the biggest selling issue they ever had in history. And a relative takes the picture, got paid $75,000 to sneak a camera into his room, his own relative, then sell them a picture.
Elvis's unusual appearance led to one of many urban myths that arose in the months and years following his death. The Elvis sighting.
When we saw Elvis at the time of the funeral, he just looked so different then than he did, because he'd lost all that bloatness, he lost all his abdomen, because all those things were removed. And some people didn't think it was Elvis, but because he didn't look like the obese Elvis that we thought of before.
Some fans are very gullible, and they'll believe that Elvis is still alive. You got these people. There's people today saying they still talk to him. Elvis died, man. Elvis died August 16th, 1977. And it just makes me mad. It really does. Then I feel sorry for the fans, because a lot of people are gullible and they believe it.
Once Elvis was laid to rest, it was time for those closest to him to go on with their lives. Or at least try.
The thing that struck me most was that life went on. I think when you're grieving and you're at such a personal loss and you feel such personal loss, the television news would allude to Elvis passed away today, Elvis died yesterday, the funeral was held today, and then on to something else. And I wanted to say, no, wait, you can't go on. There is nothing else. That's all that matters right now. And that's what struck me personally, that the world could go on and that life could go on without him.
Probably about 3 months later, one evening at the house, at my home, I just said, I'm not going to see him again. I'm not, he's gone. And I became very depressed. And my girlfriend, Shirley, thank God she was there. She helped me out tremendously. I just realized that he is not coming back. We're not going on tour anymore. We're not making movies. He's not singing anymore. And that depressed the heck out of me for a long time. Luckily, I had some friends like Jerry Weintraub and Tom Hewlett around, and Jerry told me actually at the funeral, he says, when you want to go to work, just let me know. And I went to work for Jerry Weintraub about 10 months after Elvis passed away. And it's tough.
I know he's gone, but to me, he's still here. He's all over the media. I think about him every day. I think all of us as I say, I miss him terribly. But he's with me all the time. You know.
Me too.
And I think Elvis was never meant to live very
All
long.
of us.
Who would want to see him old? You know? Can you imagine him old?
Oh, I wish we did
Elvis
see
lived a
him
long
old.
time compared to Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones, and Kurt Cobain, who all died at 27. We had Elvis
So
for a
true,
long
Sugar
time.
Plum.
We were lucky to have him that long. There's something about genius that carries, that kind of genius that carries the seeds of its own destruction.
Oh, let's end with a happy bit, shall we? That was tough, guys.
Same faults. You know, none of us. However, he did tell me one time, Miss Cock, I don't know, but two people in this world that are perfect. One's you and the other one's me. And he's gone, and I have this awesome responsibility to myself now. But
that's nice,
he
Lily.
Was a very kind and warm and loving man.
His fire that burned within him came from his spiritual strength and his faith, and the passion that he let out in his singing, in the gospel-like singing that he did, was passion coming straight from the strong soul that he is today, wherever he is.
He didn't have a life. He was a professional Elvis Presley. And there's a sadness to that. At the same time, I mean, he was what he was.
A lot of guys have come and gone and this and that, but he's Elvis Presley.
That's true,
and
Songbird.
The people that were raised in that era couldn't let go of it, even if they wanted to. You know, I mean, he's an enormous part of their life. He's a part of my life, so that's never going to go. And then different generations on down hear about him, and you know, he was a phenomenon. He pretty much started rock and roll.
He was unique. And I think the charisma that he had with his fans was something else. It's too bad he didn't realize how much he was loved.
I, for one, am sorry that I didn't reach out more.
I think everyone is.
At the end,
Hi, Maxine.
where his life ended, was when we should have been there more. And I've often regretted that. But as what happens with a very big star, you have a tendency to think that they're okay, they're surrounded, which he was most of the time. But, you know, instinctively we all feel we should have been there a little bit more for him.
Oh,
He
Lily
said to
Blue.
Kathy Westmoreland several months before he died. He said to her, Kathy, I wonder when I die if I'll ever be remembered. And now, after all is said and done, the irony is this. You can take all the great stars in the history of the 20th century, going back to the first great sex symbol, Rudolph Valentino, to Clark Gable.
I understand that, Josie.
Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, John Lennon. Put them all together.
Oh, thanks, Maxine.
More people go visit Elvis than all of them combined each year. And each year it gets more so. Elvis is remembered in a way that transcends show business, because he touched the hearts and souls of people all over the world in a way that no other star ever did.
I think that's it, guys. Oh, very sad. I think we'll let the music play a little bit, just so we can just chill out. So sad, guys. That was heart-wrenching. Caroline, that was heart-wrenching. Oh my God. Well, that's so unusual. I can't even explain it because that I don't understand it, but that interview, even though there was loads of things in that interview that I didn't like, that upset me, the first half of that interview documentary, I didn't like it. I almost wanted to turn it off. Yeah, I think many of you felt that way as well, where it was almost unbearable to watch. But the more we watched it, guys, seriously, the more we watched it, I can't explain it. I started to feel a closeness to Elvis. Does that make any sense to you guys? The more we watched it, because we were all together, because there's like 60 watching now. We've had 65 people watching. I started to feel almost a connection to the grief, the sadness, the difficulties with Elvis's health conditions, and I can't explain it. I felt closer to Elvis. Did anyone feel that? Did anyone feel that? Because it's almost like we were experiencing what Elvis was going through with him. Do I sound weird? So the last 20 minutes, as sad as it was, as horrible as it was, seeing the funeral details, and the people trying to pay homage to Elvis's last few months, I don't know. I just felt like maybe it's because there's 60 of us watching it. I think that could be the key here, that because we're all together watching it, we're not just sat at home in a room like that on the sofa in our lounges, just on our own watching a documentary. We're not. It's very different. We're watching it as a group. We're watching it as Team Elvis. And I just think there's something different to that. And I actually almost didn't want it to finish. That's so weird, isn't it? I almost didn't want it to finish because I could feel that closeness. Strange, guys. Very, very strange. Very strange. But we all feel the loss. We all feel the loss as well. So I can't explain it, guys. Definitely, we were, all of us together were heartbroken together. 60 of us heartbroken. It's like, it's amazing as well, because Elvis died 47 years ago. And we're here still grieving over poor Elvis. And obviously our hearts go to Lisa as well. It's just, yeah, I think incredibly sad is the word, isn't it, Lorna? Sugar Plum, thank you for all your comments. They've been excellent. And Lily, he was unique, beautiful soul, and magnificent heart. Yes, it brings it all back to you, Karen, as if it was yesterday. I felt close to Elizabeth. Sorry, I jumped up then, sorry. Yeah, Elizabeth, you felt, we came together for this, didn't we? This is part of the, I've never watched that. I've seen it in clips. I've never watched that in its entirety. And watching it for the first time with you guys as well. Remember, first time, many of us here, I think, have watched that for the first time together in a group. I think it made it more special. And like Elizabeth says, it felt like we were all closer, which is lovely, isn't it, guys? That's what Team Elvis is, isn't it? We are a family. We've created a closeness. I think we have a unique thing here that I think people underestimate. I don't think everyone really gets what we've got here. Yeah, and we're all kind, loving, caring people that truly love Elvis and Lisa and the bloodline. So yeah, Deborah, my uncle said the day of the funeral was the saddest day ever. It was saying goodbye forever, you know. And guys, we are going to be watching a lot of these kind of things together. I'm finding all these vintage documentaries. They won't all be sad. There'll be some happy ones as well. And we're going to dig them out and we're going to watch them together. And I'm going to make sure I watch them for the first time with you guys. Same with the old interviews as well. And I think it's important that we do it together for the first time. I don't want to watch it and then play it. I want to write. It's all new. Now, when I was watching that, it was the first time. So my reaction was genuine. Many of you here, it was the first time. So your reaction was genuine, heartfelt. Louis did. No, I've never seen it, Tony. I've seen little clips of it. There was a few bits, like the Shirley one and the Larry bit, a few of the Joe Esposito bits. There was a few bits I've seen in 2-minute slots, but I've never seen it as a 1-hour show. No, never. Lily, I remember the day I shared my bedroom with my sister. She came in crying and took all the posters down of Elvis, all of them. Oh, Lily. Elvis was an all-round wonderful person. He sure was, Maxine. Sorry, Maxine, you joined us so late. We definitely are a family here, Deborah. It was kind of nice in a way to go through it with everyone. Yes, Elizabeth, I agree. We definitely do. We all love Elvis here, Karen. There's nothing fake about us. Nothing fake about us. I bet it was a terribly heartbreaking day in Memphis. Yep, Stacey. Carolyn, we do, don't we? We do. And when we watch things like that, my God, we remember just how much we miss Elvis. Is that... Right, I've only got a few more minutes. Did I see Kate there? Let's have a look. Let me try and quickly get through these comments. Sorry, it jumped up again, guys. I can hear the kids screaming. They should be asleep. The kids should be asleep. They're still awake. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Tony, we are all Team Elvis. And we are still loving Elvis. Too right we are. It is heartbreaking. I'm sure I saw Kate on it. Hi, Kate. I've lost your comment. Lily, eyes are the mirror of the soul, and we could see his soul, and we knew how good it was. That's why we're all here. That's why 50 years later, 40 years later, we're all here together, because we were touched by Elvis's essence, his soul. We were transformed. The minute we discovered Elvis, we changed forever. And that feeling has never left any of us. I remember discovering Elvis when I was a tiny little boy. I feel the same way. I haven't changed. My feelings about Elvis are the same, even though I'm 57 years old. Crazy, isn't it, guys? One thing that I can't imagine is deep grief Vernon went through. Yeah, I don't care what anyone says about Vernon. He absolutely adored and worshipped his son. Teresa, I've always feel close to Elvis every day, forever and always, today and tomorrow, forever. Teresa, we know. Thank you so much, Teresa. So a lot of stars have dedicated big fans when they are alive, but no stars has or ever will have the dedication and love 50 years after they pass like Elvis has. He is smiling down on us. Lovely. That is such a good comment, Dan. And I think Elvis would be proud of us. Seriously, guys, I think Elvis would be proud of us. I think Elvis would be really happy what we do here. We pay our respects to Elvis in every way we can, and we defend him. And we defend him. We didn't watch this documentary to make Elvis look bad. We watched it to show our love, to defend him, to protect him. to put our cloak around him, to put our warm blanket around him. We watched this documentary together with love for Elvis and his bloodline, for Lisa, his daughter. I feel blessed by being here. It's a peaceful gathering here. It feels so good. Oh, thanks, Maxine. We're always peaceful and we're always kind. We're always kind. I personally feel that we at Team Elvis have been given a bad rap. I don't think we've been treated right, Team Elvis. I think we've been picked on a bit. But we come from love and forgiveness. We forgive. We forgive. We give kindness. Hi, Kate. Hope you're well. We've just watched an hour-long documentary. We've started going through vintage documentaries together. We're watching them for the first time together. They're like 30 years old, 40 years old, 20 years old, whatever age they are. And then we are reacting to these documentaries together as Team Elvis. And we're going to be doing quite a lot of it as well. Wow, Lou, I've seen that. All right, so Tony, you've seen it quite a few times. I stumbled on it, to be honest, you guys. So Carolyn, he's still gaining new fans. I've only been an Elvis fanatic for 2.5 years. Prior to seeing that movie, I just knew the character of Elvis. Yeah. So watching the movie changed your life, Carolyn. Thank you, Elizabeth. He appreciates people. Yeah. Right, I'm going to have to go, guys. Oh, my God. All right, shh.
Dad,
right. Guys, we're going to bed now.
My baby was sleepy down here.
Right, are we going to say goodbye to...
Bye! Emma. Bye, Elvis Presley. Emma. I want to show you a dance. Wait. I want to show you a dance. I want to show you the dance.
Sorry, guys.
I want to show you a dance. I want to show you a dance.
Right, I'm going to go now, guys.
I want to show you a dance.
No.